The global issue of climber nowadays is about the mountain being dangerously overcrowded for the expedition. A recent example is a traffic jam in Everest featured on the National Geographic travel blog. An alternative to reduce traffic jam on Everest expedition should be identified soon. The world's highest traffic jam was on way to scale Everest summit's. Main reason behind this is an increase in a successful attempt by the climbing team with development on the field of mountaineering. According to a census published by National Geographic, 18% out total attempt for Everest summit to successful attempt increased more than 3 times in late 2012, resulting in 56% of the successful summit attempts, regardless of percentage, on one single day in 2012. Not less than 230 for climbers scaled the summit of Everest, whereas in 1983 most successful ascend to the summit of Everest in one single day was 8. The Mount Everest expedition has been making headlines in 2023 with high permit numbers and record-breaking deaths. The Nepal government issued 478 permits for a single season in 2023 for 47 different teams. Everest recorded one of the highest numbers of summits, with almost 600 summits, including both Sherpas and members. 12 people have been reported dead while attempting to climb the highest peak, and 5 are missing, presumed dead, as no contact has been made. According to the Himalayan database, in spring 2023, 12 people were reported dead and 5 were missing in Mount Everest, but the missing are assumed to be dead, taking the number of deaths to 17. Without a doubt, 2023 will be one of the most chaotic and deadly years in Everest's history, with record-breaking rescue attempts and continuous helicopter flights. Everest was super busy this year. The current death toll is one of the highest in the history of the mountain. Only years 2015, 1996, and 2014 recorded a similar number of deaths, namely 13, 15, and 16, respectively. In 2015, an avalanche wiping base camp set high death records, but this year there were no major natural catastrophes, yet death numbers are high. With the unofficial end of the spring climbing season, a general statement of who to blame has been circulating. Authorities have proposed many explanations, including climate change, altitude sickness, exhaustion, false novice attempts, running for Mount Everest records, colder temperatures, and more. Most officials attribute the changing weather as a major reason for climbing Everest this year. Climate change is having a big impact on the mountains. With this, 2023 is the deadliest year in Everest's history. Also, climbers and others have estimated 2 more additional deaths, which are yet to be confirmed, while most of the bodies have been brought down. A few of the dead bodies on Mount Everest have yet to be discovered. Mount Everest is an extremely challenging and dangerous environment that requires proper training, experience, and physical and mental fitness. There has been an increase in inexperienced climbers attempting the summit without adequate preparation. What's the experience of climber? What was the major bottleneck on the Everest expedition? Many climbers had pointed out the issue of waiting on the queue for at least 2.5 hours on the way to Hillary Steps, passing before reaching the south summit and actual summit of Mount Everest. A bottleneck of the entire expedition during Mount Everest, i.e. Hillary Step, should be replaced by installing a ladder. It was a suggestion from one expedition company, Operation Expedition. However, classicists refuse and protest the idea of installing the ladder on the Hillary Step, as it directly reduces the significance of climbing. The main problems are only one person can climb or down at Hillary Steps. During Mount Everest, i.e. the Hillary Step, the entire climbing barrier has to be replaced by a new set of stairs. It was a suggestion of a campaign company operating the campaign. However, classicists reject and oppose the idea of establishing a ladder on the Hillary Step, as it diminishes the importance of climbing directly. The main problem is that only one person can go up or down the Hillary steps. The major issue these days is about the idea of reducing the number of climbers to a certain limit on Mount Everest each year so that the climb can be organized smoothly, while minimizing delays on the way to Mount Everest. However, there is a growing number of people who reject this idea and suggest that instead of reducing the number of climbers, the Nepalese government should implement other ideas to reduce congestion and manage the overcrowded Mount Everest. Mt Everest, the world's highest mountain, has hit the headlines once again, not because of other reasons, but due to the pile of garbage. The rubbish dump in Everest has also been the serious talk of the town. Tenzing Sherpa, a mountaineer who has guided climbers for 4 years, reported seeing litter, including tents, gas bottles, bowls, and plastic at Camp 4 on the South Col, which is 7,906 meters high. It's the dirtiest I've seen. Everest has so much garbage, depleted oxygen cylinders, food packaging, rope, that climbers use the trash as a kind of signpost. Moreover, the tents are littering South Col, or Camp 4, which, at 8.0 meters 26,240 feet, is the highest campsite on Everest, just below the summit. The high winds at that elevation have scattered the tents and trash everywhere. Over 600 people attempt to summit Mount Everest every climbing season during the few weeks of the year when weather conditions are just right. In addition, for every climber, there is at least one local worker who cooks, carries equipment, and guides the expedition. Each of those climbers spends weeks on the mountain, adjusting to the altitude at a series of camps before advancing to the summit. During that time, each person generates, on average, around 8 kilograms, 18 pounds of trash, and the majority of this waste gets left on the mountain. The slopes are littered with discarded empty oxygen canisters, abandoned tents, food containers, and even human feces. At base camp, there are tented toilets with large collection barrels that can be carried away and emptied. The Nepalese army has also been deployed to clean up the mountains. Some of the members from them also reported casualties. It might not be wrong if someone says Mount Everest has a mountain of trash, from leftovers to cans. Unfortunately, it is the climbers who litter the mountains since garbage started piling up. Since the first successful attempt to conquer Everest in 1953, besides dead bodies, garbage on Everest includes food packages, can bins, oxygen cylinders, cooking gas, tents, and human poo, among others. Despite the majestic spell Everest still casts from a distance, it is getting less charming to the climbers due to pollution. Layers of garbage piled up on Everest are getting visible due to snow melting. Sagarmatha Pollution Control Committee has been working to clean Mt Everest. However, its activities are focused on the base camp only. It has been urgent to clean Camp 2, Camp 3, and Camp 4 of Everest. According to PK Sherpa, a tourism entrepreneur and a mountain climber, these Himalayas may not retain the same alluring look, thanks to snow melting as an impact of global warming, Sherpa said. Sherpa has been running a campaign to clean Everest since 2010. As of now, he collected 6 dead bodies, as well as a huge amount of garbage scattered around Everest. According to the Everest Summiteers Association, which has, in recent years, taken tons of debris off the mountain, there are still about 30 tons of trash left on the mountain. A cleanup expedition to Mount Everest had removed 11 tons, 11,000 kilos of rubbish and for dead bodies from the world's highest mountain in 2019. Cleaners spent weeks collecting food wrappings, cans, bottles, and empty toxic cylinders. According to the Nepal Tourism Department, the 4 bodies were exposed by melting snow and were carried to base camp and then flown to a hospital in Kathmandu for identification. The story of garbage scattered in Camp 4 is no different. You will find everything including food, tent, spoons, plates, and many more that is used during the expedition This shows the amount of garbages on Everest. Sadly, the existing regulations about the cleaning of the Himalayan region not as effective, as they are not strictly enforced, added to garbage on Everest. Global warming means glaciers and long-standing snow and ice on the mountain are rapidly receding. This is exposing more bodies and waste, as well as making climbs more risky and difficult. We need to clean up the garbage in the mountains that have been piled for many decades. He is delighted that such cleans not only tidy the mountain peaks, but sustain the lives of the locals and the Sherpas who, though not as climbers, but as cleaners, get employment through the campaign. Hopes for a good collaboration from the Sherpas, as they revere the Himalayas as their god, and are always delighted to maintain sanctity in those areas.